can you remember your first professional gig, where you auditioned and how that process went, and what you want to share about that?
Yeah, I actually think Brandon helped me with my first professional booking. It was in the dark for the CW's in the dark. And I remember I went in really stiff, nervous. This is when we still did in-person auditions. And I was nervous. It was a lot of texts. Like the average beginner actor makes the same expectations of like, you have to be off book, you have to be perfect, you have to be. So I was pretty stiff. But yeah, then they gave me a redirect. They told me to come back in for callbacks. Brandon was there to help me out with like getting the flow of the memorization better. And yeah, that's when I booked this like pretty decent role for first time. But yeah, that was pretty, it was pretty sick to finally get to be on set and not be like, oh, this was just a pipe dream for an ex-theater student.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Nice. And so now you've had several bookings since then. So obviously, I'm sure your audition process has changed.
Oh, yeah.
Can you speak to your personal audition process from the time you get an email from your agent and to the time that you're taping it, or if it isn't in person? Sure. Just talk about what you actually do and share that with our audience.
Yeah, I kind of... So when I get the audition, I basically just look at the breakdown like we all do, see what the character is, what size of role, or what networks and stuff. And then I kind of just see my schedule, what time I want to do it, where I'm not stressed out. I'm not the kind of actor who needs to like ship it out immediately. I'm the one that's like, oh, it's due in like 4 days. Well, I'm going to just like dig around for 2 days. And then maybe on the third day, I'll look at it kind of thing. The reason why is because I know for myself, I'm naturally a very anxious performer. I'm an anxious artist who always has voices in my head to be like, oh, maybe you need to be more perfect. So the less time I fixate on it, the better. Because then I'm coming in relaxed. I come in a lot more jovial. And I'm coming in being like, okay, what can I bring in that'll be a fun interpretation? Because I specifically asked my agents to get me more open ethnicity auditions because I like that idea more than me competing with just for Asian roles, Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. That's, I mean, I think the biggest thing for most actors is to have a process, whatever that is. And different people have different approaches based on their training or coaches or just their habits over their career. But I think a big theme for everyone is have fun. You mentioned it. Yeah. That's a big thing with us here. It's supposed to be playful. It's supposed to be a positive, fun, creative experience, not an anxiety riddled situation where you're just like, oh my God. Like if every time you do an audition and get an audition, it's giving you an ulcer and you're wanting to throw up. It's not the best situation. But whatever works,
auditions cost too much, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If you let that happen.
Yeah. So one thing that I've always really admired about you, Julius, and something that you're very talented at is text analysis. And can you maybe speak a little bit about like what you're looking for when you start analyzing a text or an audition piece?
Basically, I did training with a teacher named Lynn Cormack, who's still training people right now, and she's wonderful. She made this thing that like gave me a huge light bulb, which was, what is the point A and what is the point B? And literally, when you're looking at the text, looking at where are these two people in the beginning of this scene or whatever situation it is, and where are they at the very end? And looking at the text, you can find key moments where even if it's not written, you as the artist know like, oh, something just happened here, or there's something changed, or something that can influence what is your point A. Brand and I were talking about this earlier, where there's a scene where a divorcee is about to leave this guy at a hospital, and both Brand and I were like clearly caught on that, like she's leaving because she doesn't feel welcomed. And it's interesting when we work with some people and they're like, "Oh, I just want to leave. That's all." And you're like, "You're missing like these beautiful chunks of like detail of she wants to stay, or maybe she just doesn't feel welcomed here." it's in the text. Yeah, I know. I quite love it because it feels like investigation, doesn't it?
Yeah, I always feel like Batman going into an audition where I'm like, I'm finding all the little things that no one else is gonna see.
Yeah.
Brandon, is that your Batman voice? You're like, oh yeah, Joker, I'm gonna stop you.
I'm gonna stop you, Joker. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
That's great. Like in everyone's got different lingo based on their training or their thought process. Brandon, I think you and I through Todoroff's classes would talk about architecture. How does it open? How does it end? That's also a lot about conflict and relationship. Where is the love? Like, you the one-dimensional actor might think, oh, I just want to get out of here. Well, then it's, if you want to get out of there, why are you there in the first place? Like what's keeping you there?